Now, it's a beautiful day that the Lord has made, and you want to rejoice and be glad in it. As you can already see, or maybe I hope you can already see, or you will see shortly, the studio has changed and we have a lot of goodies here. Why we have it, we'll be telling you that in a very short while. But we want to celebrate Thanksgiving Day with the US ahead of tomorrow, as it is the custom. They celebrate it every last Thursday of November every year, and they'll be telling us why Thursday, why the end of Thursdays every November. And these years, I've mentioned, is celebrated on the 27th. It's a mostly US holiday. That's what you're talking about with my guest this morning. That is James Hagen-Grab. I hope I'm not butchering your name. If I am, you'll correct me. He's the information officer and spokesman at the US Embassy right here in Nairobi, Kenya. And we'll be speaking to find out if maybe this is something that we can borrow, the Thanksgiving, why they celebrate it, what is the history of Thanksgiving, and all the ins and outs as far as Thanksgiving is concerned. That is what we are talking about this morning. Welcome to Morning Cafe. Is this your first time, James?
Thanks, Anne. Yeah, it's my first time here on air at TV47. I've been to your studio and we've been grateful. We're happy that we've had TV47 at the embassy at some of our parties, our events, and interviewing our ambassadors and chargés in the past. So it's wonderful to be here. So
how do you say welcome in Swahili? How long have you been in Kenya?
A little over a year.
Yeah.
It's Karibu, yeah.
Welcome. Good. Okay. And when you say thanks, how do you say it?
Asante.
Great, you're doing well. I was about to high five you.
Okay.
So tell us, what do we have here today? I've already alluded to it. Thanksgiving, and we have a lot of goodies here displayed this morning.
So this is a traditional Thanksgiving feast. We, as you said, it's the last Thursday of November. President Abraham Lincoln started the holiday officially in 1863 when we were having a civil war, so it was probably our darkest period as a country. And it was a time for families to get together and just like sit down at the table, have a very, I guess, extravagant meal together to be grateful for what we do have. So even when it was the worst part of our history, there were still reasons to celebrate and to remember. And often was just for your health, for your family. It's become one of our most beloved national holidays. As you mentioned, other countries, Canada has a Thanksgiving, they do it earlier in October, but it's similar. In the US, this is the time of year when our farmers harvest their crops, fall, October, November. And so it was traditionally a time when farmers would slaughter animals, would prepare for winter, and you'd have a big celebration. So that's what we do, and now it's a sacred holiday. Every American, I think they love this holiday. They bring in their own traditions. This is I guess the traditional one with roast turkey. We can go over some of these things, but other families with Italian roots or Kenyan roots or wherever you're from, people bring in their own traditions. I have my own traditions for my family. So there's always some variation. There's no law requiring that we do it this way. It's just some of these are traditions. I tend to be a little bit more on the traditional side. So when we get together with friends here in Nairobi, I bring the more traditional food. And some people go a little bit crazy and they'll have other like tofu turkeys or other things. But
so majority of Americans celebrate it, with the turkeys here. So why is turkey so symbolical? And you say, people bring different traditions, but turkey is what we know it for. Then why is turkey so preferred?
There's some mythology around it. So it goes back 400 or 500 years from when the first English settlers came to the U.S., the Pilgrims, and the story, the founding myth, and there are some Native Americans who disagree with how this story is told, but that the Pilgrims, the settlers, learned from the Native Americans how to survive on this new land, and there was a lot of wild turkeys that were living there. This is like New England, Massachusetts, around Boston. So they ate the turkeys, and even today there's a lot of wild turkeys in the U.S., and so they're kind of easy if you wanted to hunt them. And they have a lot of meat, as you will find out. They're very tasty, and it was just something kind of extravagant to celebrate their survival.
They're very tasty. Does it taste like chicken? If you can compare it to chicken, what does it taste like?
Or does turkey taste like chicken, or
Yeah.
chicken tastes like turkey. I don't know.
Either or.
It's poultry. It's a big bird. So yeah, it tastes a bit like chicken.
All right. I should have started with this when we were starting this conversation, but what are you thankful for this morning?
We are very thankful for, the reason we do this really is to thank you, to thank journalists, because we think what journalists do in Kenya is very important. Kenya and the United States both have constitutional rights for a free press. We believe, even I'm speaking as a government official, but that it's vital. The reason we have survived for 250 years, a lot of it's because of the press. They've kept our politicians honest. They've been the voice of the people. When we've had struggles in our country, the journalists are the ones that often bring some sanity, bring some reminders to why certain laws are the way they are. They shine lights on problems, and we think the Kenyan journalists are worthy of thinking and worthy of a dinner. And I think it's what you do to the country is very important, and it's made your democracy. It's made Kenya stronger by having people like you, TV47, other media houses in Kenya. So we are grateful for what you do. We've been doing this for about 10 years. We bring turkeys to various media houses. We're not able to cover everyone in Kenya, so we're sorry to those journalists who we are missing, but we'll try next year.
It's for all of us. We're representing the rest of the team. And you mentioned about this being a dedication, of course, to journalists. And I'm looking at a statement that you released earlier or later this year, in the mid this year, about press freedom, just defending journalists. And I would want to know why that is so dear to you. And it came at a time when journalists were being threatened, gagged in this country, and of course, when you're covering protests, when you're covering things like politicians, a lot of threats. So why is that so dear to you that Kenyan journalists are given the freedom that you think they need?
Well, as I said, I think your work is important. Politicians in both the United States and Kenya, sometimes need to be reminded of what citizens want. And you've had some citizens have done some peaceful protests here, and I think it's been, journalists have covered that, and they've often faced harassment and risk, and so we have put out the fact that journalists they're the messengers. They should not be targeted for doing their job, and it's vitally important that they're allowed to do their job without harassment, without fear. And sometimes journalists make mistakes. I was a journalist for a long time, for more than a decade, and I made mistakes too. And the benefit of having a free and independent press is you have other media outlets that can report on it. And so it's a vibrant, chaotic debate, and it benefits people when the citizens have a chance to learn and are informed of what's going on in their country. They can make choices. So we actually have a lot of faith in people making the right decisions. So we believe in the grassroots. So like I said, we're celebrating 250 years this year, the United States. And our founding document, our first amendment of our Constitution guarantees free press, because our founders realized that to protect yourselves from tyranny, from overreach of government, you need to have a watchdog for the people. So we call it the fourth estate. So you have like the courts, Congress, and the president. But we also believe that journalists are critical for a democracy. So that's why sometimes we like to just say that. It wasn't for any particular reason, and we actually think in general, journalists in Kenya have a pretty good environment. We've seen some problems. I visited some of your colleagues in Nakuru, and I know there were some, in the protests, one was shot. And so I think it's important. There's some good advocacy work here. We speak with the Kenya Editors Guild, the Media Council of Kenya, but we think Kenya, everyone in Kenya, the government down to the people, benefit when you have a free and independent press.
And of course, we'll be getting into the nitty-gritties of Thanksgiving and what we have on the display this morning. But let's just talk about this issue of press freedom a bit more. You're saying you've engaged the Media Council of Kenya, the Editors Guild, but are you engaging government institutions in depth when such threats towards the media occur?
We do, and we don't often publicize it, but we do have a very good and open relationship with your government, and we have raised concerns when there have been issues in the past with threats or with problems. And we found generally the government and the authorities here have been responsive and have listened to our concerns. But we do try to be a voice for journalists. We have some American newspapers or American media outlets here in Kenya who are working. There are other internationals, and then just the Kenyan journalists who we work with day to day. And sometimes you criticize us, and that's fair. That's what we want. We want people that have your job is to ask questions.
You feel like the media will criticize the U.S. Embassy as well?
Sure. It's the job.
What have you seen that maybe we as media have reported about the U.S. that you felt like, this is a bit off, this is not something that we stand for?
So I think the big issue has been some of when President Trump was inaugurated, there was a pause in assistance, but it didn't stop. And there was some reporting that made it look like the U.S. just withdrew from Kenya, and that's not the case. So that was disappointing, and I think there should have been a little bit more questions asked on that, because we actually have been very busy here. We've been ongoing. We've been investing a lot in our partnerships. Things have shifted, no question, but we certainly haven't stopped. We remain Kenya's top partner in healthcare and security and other things, and ongoing, robust. So I don't think it's fault of the press in the way, like, you guys have been doing your job, but there sometimes have been narratives or people have been telling stories that we're withdrawing, and that's absolutely not the case.
And I love that you're here this morning and how you're leading me step by step into issues that I want us to be talking about this morning, and that is with regard to the help that you mentioned about, and that is just about the major health shakeup that we saw. Or you correct me again if at all I'm saying it in a manner that you don't stand for as the embassy. We reported that about 72 out of 83 formerly active USAID funded projects were shut down in the country. But some remained, and I would love for you to clarify on that, the help programs that remain that are US funded in the country.
I don't know the exact number of the programs that were shut down, but I know most of the health programs remain. So like PEPFAR, for HIV, malaria, TB, and we're actually going to be announcing in the next few days, I can't say too much more on this, but even an expansion of cooperation, of partnership. President Trump we've got a robust framework that we plan to be discussing more in coming days. I can't say much more on that one, but a lot of the existing programs have not stopped. So there were individual things. I mean, that's President Trump's mandate. He was elected. He brought some changes, but I tell you, there are our health is in particular, along with security, that has not diminished. In fact, it probably will be expanding. Just yesterday, Washington announced a massive expansion of Zipline. I think it's a $150 million investment in Zipline in Kenya, I think Ghana, Ivory Coast, Rwanda. I think there are 5 countries, but that's to expand access to like medicines and other things in rural areas where we're using American technology, partnering with local governments to ensure more access so people in rural areas that can't reach hospitals will get deliveries of medicines and drugs. But a lot of these programs like maternal health, like I said, TB, HIV, they haven't stopped. And those are very high priorities.
All right, and I was just coming to that for you to talk to us about the priority areas with regard to, the support that we heavily rely on here in the country, and that is with HIV, TB, malaria, and maternal health, like you've mentioned. But we also do understand that transitioning also require, a coordinated support and engagement. Right. So what are you doing as the embassy to ensure that there's no interruptions? I know you've said that there will be a report that will be released very soon, but what are you doing to ensure that even as this transition is taking place, there is no interruptions with regard to how we are getting funding for HIV, TB, malaria, and maternal care?
We have the large, like our Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, their largest office outside of Atlanta is here. PEPFAR, so I've spoken with some of the leadership at our embassy on that one, and they said, like, for example, that the drugs, they continued throughout. They were not pulled back, and those will continue. But I think there is more of an emphasis from President Trump on on sustainability. So trying to make sure that at some point the local partners, the local governments are able to carry on and sustain these programs long term, because it isn't, foreign assistance was not meant to be like an infinite. The goal is to try to help the partners stand on their own 2 feet, and Kenya actually has a very good health system that's improving. There's a lot of dedicated doctors and different levels that are working on this stuff, but I think there's more of an emphasis on ensuring that these can sustain long term. So wait for coming days. We'll have more information on what this is going to look like. But there's a lot of work going on right now with both Kenya and U.S. officials here and in other parts of the continent to make sure when these are unveiled, that there's going to be a strong, and in the end, Kenyans will benefit from better health care, and Americans benefit. I mean, President Trump made, he says America first, right? But the thing is, these like pandemics don't respect borders. So if there's a problem in Kenya, if there's a problem somewhere else in the world, it can also reach the U.S. So this protects both of our countries. So that's what we're trying to find, is a way that we can help Kenyans, we can help stop pandemics by working together. We're not stopping this, we're saving lives, and the U.S. has invested more than $7 billion in Kenyan healthcare in the last 20 years. I think that's something in the range of like $1 trillion shillings. It's a lot, and we're not going to step back and let that disappear. It's a very important investment for us. It's a commitment from Americans to help a partner. We view Kenya as a partner, but Kenya is also capable of doing more, right, with the system. So President Trump, I think, wants to see capable partners take on those responsibilities that we were doing in the past, but they're absolutely going to be continuing.
So do you see an instance where Kenyans, we are able to stand on our feet and not rely on donor funding? You say that we have very strong health systems, which is improving day in, day out. But with everything we've seen, how just by reporting about the US aid and how some of the benefits were withdrawn, it got the country, it gave us a lot of jitters and
Sure.
It got us talking. So do you see us getting to a point where we do not really have to rely on donor funding?
I mean, that's the goal. I think it's important to note that there are, we read the press here, you guys report on the shortcomings of the health system, and that people who have complained and criticized it. That's not for us to say, but I think it is important to take a step back and look at where you were 25 years ago versus where you are now. I wasn't here then, but I've heard stories on the number of deaths, people dying of AIDS, people dying of diseases that are now prevented. The health millions of lives in Kenya have been saved through these advancements, and it has gotten better. There's a lot of advances in Kenya. A lot of it's through our partnership, but the system in Kenya has improved over the last 25 years. There are a lot more people alive today who would have otherwise died from these diseases. I'm told from former diplomats, friends from Kenya here, that 25 years ago, the largest industry in parts of Kenya was coffin making from people dying of AIDS. Trying to prevent children from being raised from single parents because the mother or father died. I mean, that's, I think we're very proud of the fact that we have saved a lot of lives in Kenya. And now I think there's more of a focus on ensuring that Kenya can really take control and does more. And I think it's not an overnight, it's step by step, but there's a lot of dedicated health professionals here who are capable. And I think the emphasis from Washington is a bit more on ensuring that sustainability and partnership. And eventually, I mean, every country should stand on its own 2 feet.
All right, and we'll be getting deeper into matters health, but let's also go back to Thanksgiving. This is a celebration that you said it started in the 1860s, but how has the shift been as of 2025, how it was celebrated historically and with the modern day practice? What have you noted that has shifted with how you celebrate this day?
Well, not having been alive in 1863, I think maybe the major shift. So a lot of people on Thanksgiving watch American football. So there is turkey contains something that some people say makes you sleepy. It's like, I think it's called tryptophan. I don't remember I'm not a scientist, but or that's our excuse, because usually we eat and then people will go and hang out and watch American football. This is the season when people do it. So people like, and I don't think they were doing that at the time. I think it's still fundamentally similar though, right? They're not doing this virtually, they're not doing this by their phones. They sit down at a table and then they talk. And a lot of people will say a prayer, they pray together as a family, depending on their traditions. And then they talk, and regardless of your religion, people do try to express, use it as a period to reflect on what they're grateful for, whether that's a job or family or whatever. But I think the thing is not really what's different, it's maybe what's similar. And I think that's why a lot of people like it, and why some people like me, I mean, I like trying new things, but this is the day when I like to go back to what my grandparents would serve us, what my mother and father would make when I was a kid. So it's sort of it's not so much the difference, it's more of what we do together. And I know Kenyans have a lot of family food traditions as well, and some things you just don't touch, right? If your mother made a dish a certain way, this is how you're going to make it. So, or your father. And this is something,
change it.
Maybe in the US, one thing I know in my family, the men, we do the cooking on Thanksgiving. In that probably wasn't the same 150 years ago. I think it was more women in the kitchen, but for whatever reason, this is the day. Like, I have 4 brothers, and all my brothers and I, on our Thanksgivings, we are in charge of the kitchen.
So you made everything that you're seeing here this morning?
I did not. I will not lie on that one. But I am making most of the dinner tomorrow. So my friends, some of our American friends, were meeting, and I even yesterday went up and found a Kenyan turkey and bought from a nice woman on the road in Limuru. So I'm very excited. That's being ready. But I do most of the cooking.
So this is a TV47 special, and we're happy to have it. You have an apron on, and I was wondering where my apron is.
It's not what I normally wear to work.
I'm interested to know why it's written Jim.
Jim is short for James.
Oh, wow.
Peter, Pete, it's just a short song.
All right. And when we talk about Thanksgiving, this is in the US. I know that a lot of traveling is happening when people are going back home to their families. But here in Kenya, we do this with Christmas, where we go back home and celebrate with family, just honor the presence of having family around. So how different is it, Thanksgiving from Christmas? I don't know how you celebrate Christmas in the US, but for us, Christmas is like Thanksgiving Day. So I don't know how you'd say, how different that is from Thanksgiving in the US.
I mean, every family is a little bit different. My family, I think Christmas is a bit more extended. We have more time away from work. Thanksgiving is one day, it's Thursday, which is a little bit difficult because we usually have to go back to work on Friday, which is kind of disappointing. You want to have a nice long weekend, but Christmas, it's similar. We don't usually do, I think turkey, everyone has different Christmas dinners. Some people do, for example, like a beef roast or something else. But Thanksgiving, I think, is a bit defined by the food, and it's it. We don't exchange gifts. We don't have other. It's a pretty simple holiday, which I think one reason why people like it. It's just basically eating and being with your family and friends, or the people who some people have they call it Friendsgiving now, so they get their friends together. A lot of Americans they move to different cities, so we're not always with our families. When we've been living overseas and working at embassies, it's a time when a lot of us miss our families, but we try to surround ourselves with friends, and usually we try to invite, we call them Thanksgiving orphans, so Americans who might be in the same city but don't have a family, so we'll invite them to our homes, and it's a really nice holiday. So we have some of our like U.S. Marines at our embassy, for example. They're young men, and so a lot of them embassy families will invite them over to their houses for Thanksgiving dinner. And so it's just kind of a time when we focus on food and gratitude. And whereas Christmas, a lot of children, it's toys and it's Santa Claus and everything else. Thanksgiving is pretty simple. All
right, great. I want us to go back to the issue of health, which I know we really very much rely on the US for our health purposes. But I'd love to know how the US, you're supporting Kenya with regards to preparedness for things like, say, Mpox, which was a major threat late last year, and not only Mpox, but other health threats that might come in every now and then?
Sure. As I mentioned, we have CDC. We have scientists who are working with their African colleagues, their Kenyan colleagues. We have a big facility in Kisumu where they work together. I guess that's Kemra. And they're on the front lines of detection. I mean, they are every day looking at outbreaks, if there's other things like Marburg or you name it, and they work together, they collaborate, we share information. And part of it is because it's easier to stop a problem when you catch it in the first phases, right? That never stopped. And so they're constantly looking at things like that, and that's continuing. I think it's a lot of just partnership and relationships that have been developed over the past 60 plus years of our two countries being partners.
I should have asked this earlier on, but how is the relationship with the US, Kenya and US, as of November 2025? Somebody will say, are we in a healthy relationship? Are we toxic to each other, or we are safe?
No, I think it's very healthy. I mean, that is one thing. I'm not criticizing the press, but I think it's stories. The press likes dramatic stories. I don't think there's drama here. I think it's been very strong. Your president has spoken with our, like Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, I think 4 times they've met. We've had a lot of really good ongoing cooperation. I think it's healthy. I think it's great. I think Kenya remains, our only major non-NATO ally in sub-Saharan Africa. We work together on so much stuff. We have so much interest from American universities and companies who want to invest in Kenya. We have a really good trade relationship that's balanced. I think we have something like 300,000 Americans with Kenyan roots who are coming back and forth and sending remittances. I believe American citizens are your #1 tourists coming to Kenya. So I think it's very strong. I think it's robust. And I know there's been some speculation on where we're heading, this or that, but I honestly, I think that's overblown. I think things are very strong.
With regard to Kenyans traveling to the US, and speaking that we have a very strong relationship, there have been concerns that the US has made it quite hard for Kenyans to travel to the US, with extra cost being added to the visa applications, more waiting time, allegedly.
What was the extra cost? I'm not aware of extra cost.
We're talking about, I think it was around, from October as of 2025, we reported that Kenyan applicants will pay an additional visa integrity fee of $250.
So that's a worldwide, that's global, that's not focused on Kenya. So that there has been more. I mean, President Trump was elected in part on Americans were concerned over immigration. Every country, including Kenya, has a right to secure its own borders and decide who's coming or not. And that was the president's mandate, wanted to pay closer attention to immigration. So there has been more scrutiny, but the fees are not targeting Kenya. These are absolutely not. This is a global situation. And the wait times, I believe, to get an appointment. Are less than 60 days. They were a lot shorter, but the demand is pretty high. There's still a lot of demand. We have a lot of Kenyans traveling to the US for business and tourism, and I think almost 5,000 Kenyans are studying at US universities. So I actually think that it's still a very strong and ongoing, the travel between our countries.
What's different with this year, say Kenyans who won the green card last year? I know a lot of them are preparing maybe to travel to the US, but there are also speculation that is quite hard as well for them this year. Then what has changed, if you can speak to that?
With regard to what, the green cards or?
The green cards and how the processing will be done for them to travel to the US.
So I don't think the green card has changed, but so there's a diversity visa lottery that every year people can apply for, and that has been paused. We just learned that the Department of State continues to administer that, but that's been paused. I'm told they're going to do it again, but normally that's in, I think, October, November when people apply for that to get a green card. But I believe, from what I saw from our State Department website from Washington, that's all administered in Washington, that they will be doing that. It's being delayed a bit. But I would urge people. We have heard of people getting scammed, told like you can apply for it here. They should get their information only from the official source, the State Department. So that's travel.state.gov. So that's where you find stuff. So we don't want people to be scammed. People need to be cautious on where you get information. I would recommend against getting it from travel agents or other places that are making money off of these things, and go directly to our website where you can find the latest information, and it changes. But that's where you can be sure that it's accurate.
So for now, that application has been posted worldwide?
Yes, worldwide.
All right, great. I think we should now get into eating a little bit as we talk more about Thanksgiving and everything, our relationship between US and us as Kenyans. We talked about turkey. I wonder if you told us about the accompaniments that we have this morning.
Yeah, so I think that's the key to Thanksgiving, in my opinion. It's the sum of its parts, and it's the sides that make the turkey's great. I know you expressed some skepticism over turkey, that's fine, but it's the side dishes. So the number one side dish is stuffing. So it's usually made with bread, some eggs, maybe sausage. Often that's stuffed inside of the bird and then roasted in there, so it gets the juices. It's really probably my favorite part. We have a green bean dish that has like a cream sauce with mushrooms. That's another one. Mashed potatoes, pureed potatoes. There's the gravy from the bird, the brown sauce, which in my opinion is the most important part. And then here's some roasted harvest vegetables, so like carrots, potatoes that are roasted together. That's pretty traditional. A green salad. There's a sausage stuffing with country sausage. I think it's probably a pork sausage. And then this is there's a cranberry sauce. So cranberry is one of the only indigenous fruits to the United States. It grows in swamps. It grows in the water. So it's a berry. It's a little bit sour and sweet. And that's also a very traditional Thanksgiving accompaniment. And I know some people don't like mixing sweet and salty on the same plate, but you know, it's once a year. You can.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah.
We even have cake. Why is cake important?
Well, there's the dessert afterwards. People usually do some kind of typically it's like this one is a pecan. It's a nut, so, like with a caramel or pie. But you have to have something to finish, right?
Right.
Do you want to try?
Of course I do. But I'm not seeing any drink here. Any juice?
Well.
Soda.
Okay.
Don't you recommend that?
Sure. I mean, and that's to each their own. Some people have water or soda or a glass of wine, but yeah.
All right. So where do we start? You can now stand.
Okay, I'll try.
Directive.
So that's also one of the traditions on Thanksgiving is sometimes you get family members who drink too much, and then the conversation goes off the rails. So we're not going to do that today, right? All right. Let me move this.
Let me help you.
Do you want to get a plate ready? We don't want to desecrate our flags.
Okay, so traditionally this was a women's thing. To cut it?
Yeah, I mean, or the chef. Do you want to cut?
No.
No?
I'll mess it up.
Okay. I might also, but we'll see. Do you prefer breast meat or dark meat or white meat? What's your?
I prefer beef.
You prefer beef?
Beef, yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a little.
We'll see how this one tastes.
We have the camera operators here too. We have to. I don't know if they can do this while also working, but.
We are ready to dig in.
Let me give you a little bit of this. Start from there, and then try some of the stuffing. This looks like it has some leek or celery, and it actually has some dried fruit.
Are they eaten
Did you have
together one
breakfast?
at a time? I did.
Well, you're going to get a second breakfast here.
What's that?
This is the pureed potatoes. There's a lot of starch. This is a heavy starch food. You need to get some of the green beans. And there's a real art to getting your plate properly, you know, which ones are touching, right, and mixing. This has some dried onions on top. That's another traditional thing.
Oh, wow.
What's your how does your family celebrate holidays? Do you have a traditional food?
Of course we do. Chapati, ugali. In fact.
Ugali.
Do you eat ugali?
I do.
You like it?
I do. It's basically like a flavor delivery, right? I mean, you're using that to get your. There's not a lot of flavor with ugali, I have to say, but it's good for. I mean, it's like mashed potatoes. It's not a lot of flavor there, but it's good.
You know, that's what I was telling you when we were starting this conversation. That even with turkey, our taste buds are different. With yours, the whites, you know, you might find turkey so sweet that will be like, ah.
I have a lot of Kenyan friends and they like turkey, so I'm not sure I believe your argument that different cultures have different taste buds.
You see, the way you feel about ugali, you know, you can eat ugali like that, ugali with tea.
Right, okay, right, fair.
Yeah.
All right, well, you be the judge.
Oh, wow.
Let me see here, so we have some disposable.
Where's your plate? Have your plate?
I will work on it. Have my plate? Okay.
So that I won't be looking so weird with it.
You can be diplomatic and pretend to like it.
Let's see. I'm going to start with this turkey so that I can rate it. Let's see. What are the ingredients for this turkey?
Turkey.
The ingredients turkey?
It's turkey. Maybe some salt and pepper. There's not much ingredients for it, right? I mean, it's simple. Here they have some rosemary around it, but it's basically it isn't. I think there's some herbs that they put on, and they roast it. But I like it just simple. I do salt, and sometimes a little bit of butter, and then you roast it. Roast it in the oven for a few hours, depending on how you like it. I experiment with different. Sometimes I go long, low and slow, low temperature and long, and then sometimes I do. Let's see if they have now the best part of the turkey is typically if they have stuffing in there, so we can.
It's much more like chicken.
Exactly. It's a large chicken.
Very nice.
And I'm very excited because I'm going to be getting I'm going to be trying a Kenyan raised turkey tomorrow with my own family. So a shout out to Francis on Lemuro Road for.
This is your first time buying turkey in Kenya?
Last year I had it with friends and they supplied it, but I do like to try to get a local bird. I try to find a local farmer, and you know, you get these great, beautiful Kenyan raised free range birds. So this is they have the stuffing inside the bird. So that's the stuff that gets all the good juices.
I don't know if the camera can just bring it.
Let me turn it around here. But you stuff the inside of the turkey, the cavity, with the sausage and bread stuffing, and then as it cooks, it soaks up the juices. I think the cameramen are going to come and converge on the table here soon.
The whole team, the whole office will be here in a short while. This is ours to celebrate journalists and to also vouch for press freedom, right?
That's right.
And we do understand that this Thanksgiving Day is a diplomatic export from media houses, and then from embassy to.
It doesn't work well with eating and being on air, though, does it? It's a bit of a challenge, but you're doing a good job.
We have to multitask. We have to. It has to be done.
No, it is, in the end, it is a exercise in gratitude. We didn't have a chance to toast or cheers together or say
it's never too late.
Our Thanksgiving prayers. I think I'm missing a.
But it's never too late.
Never too late? Okay, we can do a food.
You can pray for yours. As we cheers. We pray first and then we cheers?
Well,
okay.
Sure. Do you want to lead us in prayer?
You lead us in prayer. It's Thanksgiving Day.
Okay. Well, let's see. Now I'm on the spot here. We have. We just want to express on behalf of the U.S. Embassy, we are grateful for our friends in Kenya. We are grateful for God for providing this food for us. We're grateful for our friends and family. And we look forward to bountiful tables, and we hope that those watching and others in Kenya also have a healthy year, healthy families and friendships. And finally, thank you, Anne, and TV47 for hosting us today, and we hope you continue your hard work, your questions, and amen.
Amen. And we say amen. So we cheers.
I'm missing a fork. I'll do this with a spoon, so
Okay.
cheers. Food cheers.
Cheers. All right.
What's the verdict? Okay.
It's nice. I think I judged it too early. I spoke too early before we...
It's better than chicken, right?
Well, it's sweet. That's all I say. We can't compare it to chicken, but it's sweet. And I would love to know what you do beyond, just celebrating this with people, with us in the media, but what you do from person to person, relationships with Kenyans. When celebrating Thanksgiving Day, do you call them at the embassy to celebrate, or where do you take this?
Well, we're lucky that we do have the day off at the embassy. So we have it's a U.S. national holiday, so we're not working. So we where I live in my neighborhood, my wife and daughter and I we gather with some of our neighbors. There's several other Americans where we live. Some Kenyans, and we actually have I think we have around 30 people this year. We're all coming together, bringing different foods, and we're just going to be bringing actually extra tables and chairs so we can all fit. And we'll have the afternoon of eating and just enjoying company and trying not to worry about who does all the dishes at the end of the night. But
is this why they're plastic? These ones we throw them after. Do you also
this is
use
not plastic. We are respecting Kenyan law. This is disposable. These are paper and wood. So
my bad.
No plastic here. Come on.
All right. And talk to us about. My train of thought is gone because I asked about plastic, and we're talking about disposable. Do you think that this is a culture that we can borrow as Kenyans?
I mean, it's not one that we're like pushing for people to borrow. I think it's I think it's always good to take a moment to be grateful and pause. We all have busy lives. People are working. I know a lot of Kenyans work 6-7 days a week. And just, if you can take a few hours to do what you can. There have been times before I had a job, when I was a journalist and the paychecks were quite small. It doesn't really matter what you have. It's just trying to find something and make it, a little extra. Not the usual eating in front of a television, but sitting down with your family, sitting up with your friends, and taking a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for in life. And some people, what I like to do with my family and our friends, we go around the table and we would all say something like, what are we grateful for this year? Because there's always something. It's easy to complain. It's easy to look and say politics this or whatever, angry with your sibling for something, but it's more important to actually be grateful. No reason to export that. People in Kenya do that. I know all over the world, but I think it's kind of a nice holiday. I know some people in Kenya have accused what we've done. We like Halloween also, and people say, isn't that witchcraft? It's not. But I don't think there's any connotations here of any sort of extra. It's just simply, it's food, it's family, it's football for us, but you guys have your football too. So, what's not to like?
Kenya, we love holidays. I don't know if you've noticed for the time you've
been
here, we do love holidays. And I'm wondering what it will take for us to just incorporate Thanksgiving into the many holidays that you already have, which we do enjoy very much. But for us to borrow this culture, which I think it's quite interesting. You talked about some thinking it's witchcraft, which I sort of disagree because of turkey and how. No,
like Halloween, one of our holidays. Some people say, isn't that? They have questions whether. No, turkey is not witchcraft.
Yes.
It's magic.
It is.
But what does Kenya have a harvest festival? Is there? Because you have sort of two growing seasons, really.
A harvest festival, I've never heard of that.
Okay.
Maybe now if we can start with it and borrow something from the US. But the thing with borrowing things, they say like, we're trying so hard to be like the Western culture.
Right.
But anyway, as we wind up this conversation, what would you want Kenyans to know this morning as far as our relationship is concerned, as far as the US-Kenya ties, Thanksgiving Day, everything?
I mean, I think the U.S.-Kenya relationship, I would say it's defined more from the ground up, from people, not from the governments. So I think some countries, it's more from government to government. They have presidents and prime ministers. But I think in our relations, I would say transcend politics. So we have a lot of Kenyans in the United States who have contributed massively to our country. We have Americans who are coming here and doing investments in business. We have more and more American companies are here in Kenya that are, just yesterday we saw Jeep, the iconic American automobile. They opened a dealership here in Kenya, and we're hoping to see more of that. So I think there's a lot of like growing business and creatives. There's Kenyan athletes, of course, like runners, but there's also, we're seeing more basketball here. We're seeing other things. So these are just Kenyans and Americans who are working together. Kenyans like a lot of American music and sports, and I think Americans are starting to wake up to some of the culture of Kenya. So this is happening regardless of who's in office, right? This is just, I think our countries like each other. I think our countries get along well with each other. Americans love, I think, Kenya. When I tell my friends that I'm posted here to Nairobi, they're like, oh, I want to come and visit. It's a very, Kenya is very much in the minds of Americans as like it's an iconic East African landscape, but I think a lot of Americans are interested in your country, not just the wildlife, but the culture and everything else. So it's kind of a neat relationship that transcends politics, and it's defined not by the embassies, but by everyday people.
All right, great. So behind the scenes, Kenya and US actually love each other, so we should not be looking into what the governments are talking about.
Well, I think our governments actually, though, too, love each other. We had a state visit with your president. We've had a lot of. I think so. I think it's quite a strong relationship.
Well, if you say so. I think thank you so much. Now we've come to the end of this conversation this morning. Thank you so much for visiting us and for all the goodies, the meals that you brought for us this morning. It's very sweet. I think my favorite is this. What did you say this is?
That's a country sausage stuffing.
This is my favorite.
Okay.
And this sauce, what is it?
It's just a cream sauce that goes on top. So it's not a very heart-healthy meal, I'm sorry, but enjoy it.
That is James Hagen-Graber, Information Officer and spokesman at the U.S. Embassy right here in Nairobi. Of course, speaking to us about Thanksgiving Day, which will happen tomorrow, the 27th of November. Are you celebrating it today because we have elections tomorrow?
I am personally celebrating it tomorrow because I don't vote here.
You visiting us here today, is it because of the elections tomorrow?
Yeah, we thought it would be good to do it a day in advance, and the embassy is closed tomorrow for a holiday, so we thought we would do it the day in advance. But it is this was decided long before we knew you were having the by-elections tomorrow.
Are you watching that, observing that as the U.S.?
We, of course, if we're following the news, we're following your reporting on it, and we are a fellow democracy, so it's always exciting when people go to the polls and choose leaders. So it's
Have you observed anything that is out of the ordinary with how we've conducted campaigns?
Well, I mean, it's not really for us to decide that. It's up for Kenyans. I mean, we're watching the news. There were some reports of some commotion and violence over the weekend, and we hope that it's a calm election day tomorrow. I mean, the right to vote is the most sacred right in a democracy, and so we want people to have that right to exercise that freely and peacefully, without but that's for Kenya to decide, not for us. All
right. Now we've come to the end of this conversation, and we already have the team in studio ready to dig in. We have a lot here to eat. And of course, you're watching Morning Cafe. Good morning. Stay with us. We want to update you on everything happening with regard to the by-election. Our reporters are on standby, so don't go too far as we dig in. Stay right here. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.